Hey Scott, how are you?
Good, Mike. Hello. Welcome. Hello.
So you were at the NVIDIA event in downtown San Jose this week, at the beginning of the week.
Yes, GTC, gigantic event for Silicon Valley, all about AI, all about NVIDIA and its partners. And it really felt like a big, big CES, just huge crowds inside and outside, throwing around literally trillion-dollar figures. It was impressive and large, even for an AI event.
Okay, well, impressive. Hyperbole's been, kind of part of the whole AI revolution, but we heard some stuff from Jensen Huang, the CEO, this week that it was nuts, I think. But, it's hard to predict, exactly what's going on. How much is hyperbole and how much comes true. So Wang said that he anticipates revenues for NVIDIA next year of $1 trillion. Now, when you and I
Yeah,
were
AI related revenue, $1 trillion, and that's double what the prediction is for this year. And again, these are all staggering figures that each time Nvidia, to be honest, kind of reaches. When he said 500 billion for this year, people were like, "Wow, that's a lot of money." But then everyone's still buying everything that they can possibly make, and he's doubled it for next year. I obviously have no idea if he's going to reach it, but the valuations continue to be eye-watering here. Yeah.
what was the reaction of the crowd?
I mean, at this point, the dollar figures are so high, it was instantly kind of a gasp. The writers, me among them, instantly popping this out, for everybody and sort of looking around like, did he really say that? And he said that. And it was interesting, not much of a reaction on Wall Street, even though it was day one of the conference and the always optimistic keynote. But, obviously NVIDIA has a skyrocketing high valuation already. There's a lot of uncertainty going forward because of the war and things like that. But for NVIDIA to at least say, we will be the standard bearer for this, and the numbers are still going to be crazy going forward for yet another year, and this is next year, this is not this year, was impressive in itself.
We keep hearing the bubble's going to burst on this, but a number like that is so mind-boggling. The phrase you used before we got on the call, before we started the call was bananas, but they've been in the business of making but growing bananas for the last few years. Uh, but he even said some other things that were almost as shocking, maybe more. He said that NVIDIA will have 75,000 employees, which is double what it is this year. But most interestingly and most amazingly, he said it's going to have 7.5 million agents working with those 75,000 employees. That's 100 agents, AI agents for every one employee. So we will just become nodes. The axis of all of this work going on 24 hours a day, and you can't even assign that much activity. The AI will have to create its own work and then deliver it to you in such a cogent form that you can actually read 100 reports every single day.
I mean, that part of it still, at least to me, and I've covered business a long time, is still kind of a mystery how that works, whether the relationship between actual humans and AI bots, or how much work those bots can do. Remember, we talk to bots whenever we ask ChatGPT or Claude or even Gemini a question, and sometimes it can't tell you the time of day,
Yeah.
when the time of day is staring at you on your computer clock. So the idea that we would say, hey, we only need one worker for every 100 bots, I think is still an optimistic guess. I just don't know how that's going to work in the future. And I remain a bit of a skeptic, obviously.
Well, there would have to be AI traffic cops among that 100 in order to organize the delivery of all that information. Otherwise, it would literally be drinking from a fire hose.
Well, right. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, NVIDIA is saying as we grow into these bots and all this AI, we are actually going to grow a lot as a company. I'm not sure if he means hiring another NVIDIA, to get to that number, or the fact that they are positive. He is likely to buy a lot of companies. He's making all these deals. Why not just buy some of the companies to get them where they want and need to be? So that's all possible. But just the idea that humans are needed, but that many more bots are somehow going to get the work done, I just don't know how that works yet.
Well, if we had any doubts about what he's saying, the message from the quarterly announcement from Micron, which is a semiconductor memory company, which is always kind of in the backdrop of Silicon Valley, they went front and center announcing they can't deliver enough memory to their key customers. That's after announcing, a doubling of their revenues? I mean, this is looking like a even bigger bubble. Not a deflating bubble, but an even bigger bubble. If Micron can't deliver enough memory chips to all the server companies out there, that says something that underscores what Jensen Huang's been saying.
Right. I mean, look at the stock price of some of these companies. I'll just pull them up. I mean, Micron a year ago was 80. Today it closes at 450. That's in a year. Seagate, Seagate also in the memory storage. A year ago, it was at about a year ago, it was 66. Today it's 436. That's 1 year. And perhaps the champ of all this, okay, there's Western Digital, and
I'm just blown away by Seagate's numbers. Seagate's was, it was kind of fading there 5 or 6 years ago.
So a year ago, right? I mean, the champ in all this has got to be SanDisk. A year ago, it was 32. Closed today at 778. I don't even know the math to go from 332 to 778 in 1 year. That's staggering. And these companies are just getting hauled into the center, the eye of the storm of AI, and rewarding investors in a way that, this SanDisk 78, this is a company that's not new by any stretch. You know of them. It's been around a minute.
It's 25 years old at least, and Seagate's 40.
Yeah. And Seagate was always just quietly, like you say, in the background, some storage, some memory, little device, here's some hardware. And now they're the belle of the ball, like all Micron, Seagate, Western Digital, SanDisk. And then, that's when you start looking at the cases, all these companies that are involved in this, because it is so double, and it's these companies able to do for their investors.
Well, it sure seems like 2001 all over again. I mean, this kind of multiple is like eBay was, and when Intel was the last company standing, it was having multiples like this, but we haven't seen it in between the dot-com boom and now. We didn't see multiples like this, and now we're back in the game.
Right. And that was back in the dot-com boom. You had chips that were soaring, powering the internet, which was soaring, that made communication and therefore data stocks. And then you see that sort of web branch out to memory and software, and the whole AI stack, as they like to say, is just red hot. And it was interesting to see those companies on the floor of the San Jose Convention Center during day one of GTC, which was mobbed. It felt like sort of a pre-COVID CES where you just realized that you were shoulder to shoulder with people and all trying to see, in this case, a demonstration of the latest chip that powers AI.
Okay, let's do a test. Let's take a real dinosaur and see how it's doing. Cisco.
Well, Cisco, that's one of the incredible things, because so back in 99 was king of the hill. It was the most valuable company in the world, and it was worth somewhere around 400 million. Just to let you know, .com boom, the highest valued company was 1/100th of what NVIDIA, what's 400 billion into 4 trillion, maybe 1/10, I don't know. So now has actually passed that. Which makes it peaked at about 70 back then. It's now 78. And, it's got a market cap above 300 billion, but 300 billion is not 4.5 trillion. That's what NVIDIA is as the most valuable company. Cisco is past the stock price that it was when it peaked, and now it's worth just above 300 billion. So, the current valuations are just mind blowing.
Of course, as they say, 300 billion isn't what it used to be. Now we're
right.
using now we're using T's in our figures.
Yeah, if NVIDIA is at 4.3 trillion, that 0.3 is Cisco, right? So
it's Cisco, yeah.
Which is at an all-time high.
Okay. Let's talk about the Fed just for a moment. Jerome Powell, I don't know what his fate is at the moment, but he's essentially saying that they're going to pause anything to do with the interest rate while there's so much confusion and inconclusiveness in the world with the war in Iran and the relationship with the EU and everything else. So he's basically saying at most there will be one more interest rate cut this year, and it's March. So that's really saying something compared to, say, last year or the year before. The Fed's going to stand pat. What do you think?
Well, I think it has to. Inflation is sort of that North Star Fed and trying to fight it. And it said, as inflation drops, we're cutting rates. And inflation was on a really nice path for a while there. And it looked like President Trump was going to get his way. Bragging rights over inflation going down and a lower Fed rate. And once we're against Iran, I'm not sure anything else would happen other than sky-high oil prices, which are inflationary, higher prices at the gas pump, higher prices at the grocery store, higher prices for travel, higher prices for shipping. That's all inflationary, which is the exact opposite of what you do and hope for if you want interest rate cuts. So the thing back now is half of what could be wrong with Trump's plan. The other half is if inflation takes off so much, the Fed is like, all right, let's look down and raise interest rates. And then you might have a situation where, you've got job concerns, slower money, and higher prices, and that is, stagflation.
Yeah, can inflation come down when oil is $95 a barrel? That ripples through the entire economy with plastics and fertilizer and everything else.
There would traditionally be no. Those things are very inflationary. Energy powers so many things. The story I did just today for NBC was travel, gas, grocery. People are starting to notice already. They notice gas now because of they notice that their grocery bill is higher, and they're planning a vacation. I did that a couple weeks ago than today and so it really hits so much of the economy, and therefore it's consumers in the pocketbook.
Can anybody plan vacation right now with the, TSA? The lack of TSA is leading to these enormous lines at airports. We have no idea how this is going to shake itself out. I suspect it'll end up in compromise, but that could take months too.
Right. I mean, the TSA situation is a different thing because of a partial government shutdown. But right, that makes travel lines longer. Um, how much your ticket costs.
Well, the summer months tourism revenues also affect the nature of the economy and inflation and all that.
Right. Say there's no good time to be at war with another country, full stop. But summer means if there's any prices involved, tourism could take a hit in a lot of places that depend on it.
Okay, before we go, we have the yin and the yang of the EV industry. Uber just announced it's going to invest up to 1.25 billion in Rivian in a deal to launch 50,000 Robo-Taxis with the option to order many times that more. That's good news for Rivian. I mean, they've always been they're an intriguing company, but they didn't have they weren't financially secure enough. Well, it sounds like they've got it now. And it's going to be an interesting challenge because we've got the Tesla Robo-Taxi coming out. Meanwhile, Tesla, the headline today was it's one step away from having to recall its autonomous driving software because the NHTSA says there's a problem about visibility, that its autonomous driving system fails to recognize or confuses to recognize objects that are on the edge of visibility that would pose a threat to both to the whatever it is and to the driver of the car. It sounds like Tesla is going down while Rivian's going up, which we wouldn't have expected a year ago.
Well, because one is still a money and one is a really, really big money loser. And so I wouldn't quite calculate their fortunes that way. It needs to not only sell cars, it needs to sell cars without losing money for every car it sells.
Yeah.
And they're not there yet. Tesla passed that a long time ago, so they've been profitable for a while. Their problem is making a big step on autonomous driving, and their autonomous driving is clearly flawed. I don't know how else to say this, but you keep seeing these indications from Tesla that they're not up to where, say, a Waymo is in terms of being able to do this. And they're still in markets like the area testing. They're not able to do what Waymo does yet. And so they're relying on that. And given that various cars are being discontinued and their sales are down, it's amazing that their price is still what in a lot of ways because they're banking on something that they are not yet able to do.
This book I'm working on, I actually told the story of the founder of the company autonomously driving 450 miles without a hitch. And he said it actually drove better than he would have at various times, like merging and everything else. It sounded like the Tesla system was bulletproof. And so I'm astonished to hear this stuff this far along, because a lot of people have the initial mistrust of it, and now people are starting to realize that it's a whole lot better, and they're buying Teslas with the autonomous driving system. So you think this will impact Tesla's sales?
No, I really don't. They've struggled with this in the past, but they have their fans, and I don't know what to say. I mean, it's been kind of its own worst enemy. The complaints I hear about Tesla is the car, but something went wrong, and they either couldn't fix it or took months and months to fix it. In other words, something that a normal car company would just take care of. And so it seems like they just a little ahead of themselves when it came to customer service and things that just sort of expect from a regular car company, and they're just not getting that done. And so people are, that's their other issue is with Elon Musk. But sales are up. They're talking about robotics, things that we just haven't seen yet. I just don't know. The promise of what some people believe in there seems to be from any results. So I don't have to kind of guess on it.
Yeah, and I think it's a spirit of the age that we expect things now to work perfectly out of the gate. And you have to test something, at least a car, several million users and billions of miles before you really shake out every little problem. And I think it feels like Tesla's being held to a higher standard. But at the same time, we have these giant piston motor cars being recalled as well. It seems like you want things to be completely safe, but we also expect rapid innovation. And I think they worked against each other.
Agreed. I think people would be satisfied with less and rapid innovation if their products worked when they got them.
Okay, finally, Bitcoin, frothy old Bitcoin, has now fallen under $70,000 as stocks tumble on the announcement of the Fed that they're going to put a hold on, rate cuts. I don't know what to make of that, but it sure seems like it's still a very volatile investment. That's a big drop in a short amount of time.
It drops $10,000 per coin in a short amount of time. It goes up $10,000 per amount of time. All in, and I say this as someone who has looked over the long term and made money. No doubt, really, to be $70,000 now. Still amazing. But that said, it's still not for the faint of heart. I don't know if it ever will be. And it still feels more like a speculative investment than an actual currency. And so, as such, it seems to be that traders will go nuts and enjoy the roller coaster ride more than how you and I use, say, a $20 bill.
Okay, well, that's it for this week. You can catch Scott on Facebook, Meta, certainly almost every night these days with all the news coming out on NBC Bay Area and on X. And we will see you next week. Take care.